Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Lowdown on Low Code, brought to you by Analysis.Tech. I am your host today. I'm John Rymer. I'm one of the partners at Analysis.Tech, former Forrester analyst. And we bring you an episode of Lowdown on Low Code just about every week. If you like what we're doing, hit the like button, hit the share button, tell your friends, tell your neighbors. Today, we have a guest that from a company we've been trying to get on for quite some time. We and when we're finally doing this episode. Welcome, Arie Versluis of Thinkwise. Folks,
Thanks,
I
John.
met Arie for the first time last week at the German Low Code Day in Hanover. And he filled me in a bit on what's been going on with Thinkwise, a company that I've known for many, many years, but hadn't engaged with for many, many years. And Thinkwise was always very interesting to me because of its commitment to apply low code to serious mission critical enterprise apps, which is why we've wanted to have Thinkwise on for quite a while. It's a very important segment in the low code market. So Arie Versluis is fairly new to Thinkwise. He is the strategic product manager. And Arie, we're thrilled to have you on Lowdown on Low Code. Welcome.
Thanks, John.
And I'm looking forward to our conversation today about your part of the low code world.
Let's hit it.
All right. So Arie, we like to start each episode of Lowdown on Low Code with our guest's backstory. How did you arrive at this very strategic position within Thinkwise?
Yeah, let me start with the period that I studied. I obtained a bachelor's in technology management with a core focus on IT, information technology. And then I mastered in change management. So how do you get people to change when processes change, technology changes? And how do you make sure that those new technologies, applications that are introduced are actually adopted by the users? Because only then it adds values to a business. So that was more or less the focus of my studies. And I went on to apply that in my first job at Deloitte Consulting, where I actually implemented standard ERP software for specifically Oracle e-business suite back in the days. Did that for a couple of years and then decided to switch to the customer side, where I actually truly learned that the actual user adoption is a very different ballgame than passing a user acceptance test, which would be sort of the deliverable for consulting implementations. I worked there as an IT manager at an international NGO, where I was responsible for the whole stack of IT. So from the basic hardware, laptops, rolling out Office 365, a project management system, selecting an ERP, adding bolt-ons to Salesforce, and also building actually a low-code app with the Power Platform, an incident reporting app for security incidents. Had the luck to travel to a bit more uncommon places of the earth, countries like Afghanistan, Iraq, Yemen, and Sudan, where we actually helped distressed people because of war situations or natural disasters. Did that for a few years. Was interesting from an IT perspective, but definitely, of course, from a personnel development perspective. And it did change my view on the world a lot. Then for family reasons, moved to the north of the Netherlands. Got little kids, so decided to stay home a lot more. And joined Royal Wagenborg, which is one of the largest shipping companies in Europe. Shipping bulk transport across the sea, the shores of Europe, as well as North America and China. So deep sea and short sea, as they would call it. At Wagenborg, I was responsible for a digital transformation, a program manager ERP, where we wanted to replace the existing ERP that they custom built over the course of 20 years with a new modern system. but not before we also updated, reviewed, and analyzed the existing processes, and really went for a digital transformation on process, people, and technology. And we happened to do that with the technology of Thinkwise. So that's when I became acquainted with Thinkwise, which was, I think, in 2020, a little after you got acquainted with Thinkwise. So I've been working with them as a customer for 4 years, a little bit more than that. And yeah, I got pretty impressed by the fact that they, well, mastered building business critical applications with low code, but also the never legacy promise that they have. So once you implement something with them, they'll commit to the keeping the technology up to date. That got me inspired, and at some point they asked me whether I wanted to join Thinkwise as a strategic product manager to bring the outside-in view to the company. So on behalf of course, not customers, but also what are competitors doing? What is the market doing? What are trends? What do analysts say? And how do we want to play our part in the segment of enterprise low-code application development platforms? So I'm driving the product strategy at Thinkwise as such.
Okay, very cool. Very interesting, life experiences out in, war-torn and, disaster areas. Um,
Absolutely.
and you've been around enterprise apps, core enterprise apps for a lot of your career.
Oh,
Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, recently caused, quite a stir, with a comment he made. It was sort of taken out of context, but he was essentially saying that the comment was reported as he said SaaS is dead. What he was really talking about, I think, was a change in the way that companies will approach applications, and they'll do a lot more building than buying, and they'll do a lot more orchestrating different capabilities rather than buying, stovepipes and data sets. I wonder how you reacted when you heard about Satya Nadella's comments, since you've spent so much of your time around core apps. Are things really changing that dramatically?
well, I'm glad you asked, John. I hope you do so. Well, if you ask me, first of all, the SaaS is dead, or to correctly quote Satya Nadella, the collapse of business applications. It's just a bold marketing statement, and I'd call bullshit on it. I don't see that happen very soon. I don't think that where he's saying, okay, it's just a bunch of cut databases and everything else will move to an agentic layer, including the business logic, is something that doesn't resonate with me whatsoever.
Uh-huh.
Because if you look at the traditional ERP systems and the purpose of it, I'd say the strength of it is the data, yes, in the database, which you can manipulate, but especially also the integrity of the data and the business logic on top of the data that makes sure that whatever is in there can be trusted by auditors and is compliant to whatever legal requirements you have to store data for an X amount of years in a certain format and to be able to report on it, and et cetera, et cetera. So from that perspective, I think we will keep that part for sure. I'll get back to the AI stuff because it's definitely going to have an impact, of course. But also, if you look at the numbers at the moment and the technology adoption cycle, actually, most of the large ERP vendors like SAP, Oracle, and I bet Microsoft themselves as well, which he referred to a little bit, are still growing their SaaS footprint. A lot of customers are still moving from on-premise deployments to the cloud, or still have to do that.
Right.
I mean, one of the customers I worked for at Deloitte, they had a 10-year project to roll out their on-premises Oracle on across 90 countries, 375 legal entities, and they just only finished it last year. So imagine if they have to pick it up and move it to the cloud going forward. Because what
Right.
we all see, including the Microsoft offerings, you basically have to start all over again. It's a true migration, a true implementation, and that's where we see a lot of focus on a more clean core. So where you could customize a lot in the on-premise deployments, the cloud will limit that and only allow you to configure a bunch of things. So as a result, we also for Thinkwise, we see typically that customers who move to the cloud will choose us, for example, as an add-on to their core ERP system, where they say, okay, for 80% of functionality, we can stick to that clean core. It fits our processes. It's not a distinguishing process that we have, not something we're unique at. But the 20% that remains, that's typically where we come in and
Right.
say, okay, the part of unique software that you want, the unique processes that you don't want to adapt to technology, but technology should adapt to, yeah, those are definitely growing, and it makes much more sense to do that outside of the standard SaaS ERP offerings. Yeah.
S since you mentioned AI, because AI so much front of mind these days, are you seeing adoption of AI, uh, to, to implement that 20% that may be unique? Is that something that, you're seeing among Thinkwise's customers, that they're beginning to adopt?
Yeah, well, in our case, of course, we basically say, hey, take our low-code platform as a core. It is a standard technology, and basically, we offer a bunch of building blocks that you can combine into a robust application. And especially in the enterprise context, this really resonates because we can do fancy vibe coding, or we can have AI agents spit out code, but that means we're back to spaghetti code all over again. And by having a much more integrated approach with low code and building blocks, you can much faster develop, but by using those standard components that we offer. So you basically guide and limit the AI application of the generative AI abilities to your standard low-code components, ensuring that they fit in your architecture and they fit in the model, which we will then continue to support in the long future over and over again. Yeah,
Right. That's such a core value of bringing AI together with low code, is that you've got the model, and
yeah.
so you've got a fighting chance of maintaining, those digital assets over time. That's great. So, interesting that you have change management in your background. What a difficult, and challenging discipline that is. I don't have to tell you. Um, I wonder, given all of your experience in applying, low code to really serious, mission critical problems, what are the critical success factors that customers really need to understand, to be successful? I imagine that change management is one of them. I'm guessing, but what are the things you see, Ari?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as mentioned at the beginning, as long as you don't have user adoption, there's no added value to your technology. And then I think it depends on your ambitions. But let's say true digital transformation starts with reimagining maybe not your entire business, but at least your processes on the questions, given the current abilities of technology, what could we do more efficiently? What could we do differently? What could we stop doing? So it often starts with understanding the business. It starts with analyzing the processes. And I mean, if you can eliminate stuff, you don't even have to automate it. And if you standardize stuff, it's much easier to automate. So long story short, I would say it start with the business. That to me, that also means that these kind of projects, they need business executive sponsorship. So that means it shouldn't be like a steering committee headed by IT and IT people only, but there should definitely be a representative, an owner, I would say, from the business executives who says, hey, this is something we need, this is something we vouch for, and this is something we stand for. And that goes not only on executive level and steering committee or project sponsorship, but of course also within the project, having those domain experts, whether you call them business analysts or key users, or I don't really mind the term, as long as they're fully available for the project and have a strong comprehension of the business domain.
Right.
And then once you get something new implemented, are able to sell it, so to speak, to their users, to their internal customers. And that brings a lot of communication and stakeholder management abilities that you'll have to bring to the
Right.
table. And a lot of, to be honest, which I still lack, but a lot of patience. But yeah, so especially in the low code and especially with AI in that era, we actually see that technology is no longer the bottleneck. The implementation part is not the difficult part, but it's the training, adoption, testing. So
Right.
essentially, the business part that now is often the bottleneck in terms of
Right.
yeah,
Do you
speed.
do you advocate with your customers that they appoint or find or, hire a change manager? A person whose job it is to understand how to drive adoption and how to really get through the human barriers?
I would definitely recommend you do so. But as we've seen also at Deloitte, it's often customers would say, "Yeah, we'll take care of this," and it's often buried under the responsibilities of the project manager
Right.
or the business analyst. So it depends how you set it up. But let's just say at some point you will be spending much more time with change management activities with your users than actually with the project team or with the technology.
Right.
So having dedicated personnel for it is definitely a good recommendation, John. Yeah.
That makes sense. Let's take a quick commercial break. Again, you're listening, watching Lowdown on Low Code, a mostly weekly podcast from your friends at Analysis.tech. Analysis.tech is a boutique analyst and advisory firm devoted solely to low code. Um, Look us up at analysis.tech. You'll find me, John Rymer, former Forrester analyst, one of two people to coin the term low code to identify this market. You'll find Rob Koplowitz, our digital process automation expert. You'll find Dave Marcus, long history in business development and digital process automation. Francis Carden, the father of RPA. Rick Greenwald, our data guy, and Andrew Bartels, former chief economist at Forrester. We're here to help. Look us up. Let us know how we can help. Now let's get back to our discussion, Ari. And now that we got the business taken care of. So let's go back. Let's continue on this thread. We were talking about should you have a formal change management position in the team? Let's talk about organization more generally. You've talked about an executive sponsor, but there's a big question in these projects about whether or not they should be driven top down or more agile from the bottom up. And there's a lot of controversy about that. How do you guys recommend to customers that they organize themselves?
If you look at the kind of applications we build, and if you look at where low code is often heading, I'd say that if we take maybe that's what you're referring to with the bottom up approach, citizen development as an example, or
Mhm.
that's definitely not something I would be advocating for, because what we often see is that something gets built at the business side, but it is technology. So once it's live, or it will be dumped on IT. So basically, it's, hey guys, we're now using this. It's very important to our process here at the commercial department, but we're not going to be busy with maintaining this. Now it's over to you, and yeah, basically it just gets dumped on the IT department. So and especially the kind of applications that we build that would definitely not be a success. But I also advocate for smaller low code apps. I think you risk instead of having a spaghetti code, you're going to have spaghetti low code applications like one
Right.
here, one there. And how do they integrate? Where's the single source of data? Who owns the application and who maintains it, et cetera, et cetera. So if for the kind of applications we build, and I was mentioning that 20%, for example, next to a core ERP from a standard vendor, but it could very well be that we replace an entire ERP at our customers who built a custom one in the past, 20 years ago. And in those cases, yeah, we're really hitting the core of the company and the core processes, the core technology. So you need enterprise grade development there. You can't have like, let's do a minimum viable product for the happy flow of a process. No, it's you got to move an entire process to a new core applications usually.
Uh-huh.
So that brings along a lot of challenges with data ownership, with data cleaning up data, but also it's important to have IT involved. So for
Right.
me, development, whether it's low code, no code, vibe coding, it's still a craft, and a lot of the essential underpinnings of a core, scalable, performant enterprise applications is your data model. So, do you understand how to build a proper data model? Do you know how information needs to be stored? Do you know how to define business rules and then build additional logic on top of it? So
Right.
I'd say it should be a top-down approach. Come back to your question, it should be an approach with both business and IT involved, and of course, the good thing about your implementation approach, if we compare waterfall to agile, is that it can be much more iterative and interactive with your end users as well. So the big advantage of still applying the agile implementation method is that you can work in sprints, and that once you've built something, and with low code, we do it very fast, you can
Uh-huh.
actually show something that works in a few days to the key users or even end users, and get their feedback quickly and iterate on it.
Uh-huh.
So you definitely want that, so to speak,
Right.
bottom involvement, end user involvement from the get go as well. Yeah.
Right. Do you advocate fusion teams where you've got IT people, maybe data specialists, domain experts on the same team, and do you advocate that there be shared responsibility for the leadership of that team between the business and IT? I mean, how do you approach that question?
Let's say in my roles as program manager or project manager, I've had the great success by being directly reporting to the board of directors. And my line manager would typically be the CFO of a company. And I would be a peer of the IT manager in my previous two jobs. So, but of course, that IT manager and people from his teams would be involved in the project, in the steering group, etc., etc. There should be ideally a single project manager, program manager, but I definitely believe in a single individual being responsible and being held accountable for whatever is delivered.
Yep.
And then when building your team in the case of low code, again, that should definitely be business analysts or product owners or people that know the business domain, as well as application developers who know how to develop applications. And in our case, it would be with a low code platform, but it
Yep.
still means development is a craft. They have a background in software development or business informatics and know how technology works and how to successfully apply that to the business. Well, there are two things I think that are great. I mean, as soon as you nail the low code platform, which is obviously easier to learn than a programming language, I always aim for the fact that developers move closer to the business, because the more you understand of the
Mhm.
business, the better decisions you make and the higher level of quality you already deliver with the first demo that you're going to give.
Right.
And as for the business analysts or product owners or key users, I don't believe in citizen development. I don't think we should have them changing the core of the application, but modeling what they see, how the screen is built up, what fields should be mandatory or not, maybe rearranging the order of the columns, etc., etc. I think that's a great way of fusing capabilities in such a way that instead of writing stuff down in specification documents or user stories, once you nailed that data model, actually you have a working application with the Thinkwise platform. Just have the business drag and drop the screen to their liking,
Right.
and no need for any written down requirements then. Um,
Right. Right.
so that there's a huge efficiency gain in fusing the team. Yeah.
Right. So it sounds like you're saying citizen development is just not really it's not really useful in this world of cr- critical mission critical core applications. Is there a role for citizen development? I mean, it sounds like when you were out in the field in Afghanistan, you probably had I'm guessing you had local folks who weren't necessarily from an IT background doing work on the Power Platform. I mean, but how would you advise people to think about this? Citizen development, not at all, or in certain cases?
Well, I think I would say there are two approaches to this. I mean, it could be a huge enabler of speeding up your personal processes, and it will maybe also extrapolate to a department, and people could definitely have a bunch of workflows or simple forms that that replaces an Excel or a Word template that is or even paper trails. That's
Yep.
definitely an advantage. But as soon as it's scaling up, or as soon as it's becoming critical, I'd say that's where you want to involve IT and have IT take the lead. And if you look at the kind of applications that Thinkwise is building, there's no place for citizen development there because it hits the core right away.
Right.
And that's where I'd always start with proper craftsmanship. And actually, we've quite a bunch of customers who come from one of our competitors who advocate for no code or citizen development. And you see that while speed is brilliant there at the beginning, the scaling and performance of the application proves to become a bottleneck. So as soon as the number of users or the amount of data is growing significantly to enterprise grade levels, they often
Right.
can't keep up with in terms of quality and performance
Right.
of the applications that have been developed. Yeah.
Right. My colleague Rick Greenwald is certainly going to be very happy to hear your emphasis on data architecture, for integrity and scaling. That's a he's brought that perspective to our work,
All
which
right.
is
If you don't mind me pitching in on that one, John. Also, if we take generative AI as a enabler of speed or whatever it can bring to the table in the business, that all starts again with trustworthy data.
yeah,
It's as if that has been forgotten, but I think one of the previous trends that we had is data science, and the garbage in, garbage out is something that we both know very well. I think
yep,
we talked about this in Hanover. But yeah, we risk seeing that again with AI and AI agents because if the data isn't trustworthy, how can you ever expect an agent to make a trustworthy decision, which isn't even deterministic but probabilistic? So it's something that's a bit hidden under the surface, and where we previously had this triangle of people, process, technology. I always add data to this triangle to have a diamond there and make sure that that's not forgotten as part of your
very
IT
nice,
implementations.
very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of double jeopardy if the data is has no integrity and you've got a problem, and then the algorithms are predictive in AI, and they sometimes hallucinate. So
Yep.
you're really in a fix. Let's close off, Ari, on a topic that a subject that you raised a little bit earlier in the conversation, and that is vibe coding. There's a meme out there because we love our memes in this industry, of course, that vibe coding will kill low code. Um, that's not, we don't believe that's true. We don't see any evidence that's true. We see actually vibe coding being used alongside of low code, in very productive ways. It can be. How do you see it playing out in the world that Thinkwise works in?
I'd say at the moment not at all.
Hmm.
So I mean the examples we see are nice and they look fancy and they all start off great. It usually works a little bit, or maybe it works entirely. But as soon as you try to alter it, to change the code, often AI will somehow screw up somewhere. And what we also typically see is that if we try to apply these kind of vibe coding or AI agents to the existing code bases, uh, it only gets worse.
Hmm.
And if you imagine that a lot of code is spit out that no user wrote and no user understands or no developer understands,
Yeah.
being able to review or debug that, that's a pretty nasty job to do. So,
Hmm.
so far, as it stands currently, we don't have much success with vibe coding internally because, of course, as a low code platform, we develop our own technology, which ultimately is high coding.
Right.
And also there, it's yes, we have efficiency gains with the Copilot, autocomplete, those kind of things, and it's a brilliant way of adding inspiration to the solutions you're trying to get stuff working. But really, using vibe coding to alter an existing piece of software so far hasn't brought us any success. No, and I
Okay.
don't regard it a serious threat for enterprise software development either, as you vividly explained at the Hanover German Loco Day already yourself.
Well, it's all about the evidence, right, Ari? If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, then you move on.
Yep.
Hey, thank you so much for spending time with me here on Low Down and Low Code. We're very happy that we've reconnected with Thinkwise. Thinkwise.com, right? People can go to the website. I believe,
ThinkwiseSoftware.com.
so what, say it again?
ThinkwiseSoftware.com. That's where you'll find it.
ThinkWiseSoftware.com. Have a look. What really impressed me when I first met Thinkwise was the customer examples that they had in their portfolio. Some really, really serious applications, really mission critical applications. And back in the day, we're talking 2017, 2018, 2019. Thinkwise was really kind of alone in being able to apply low code to these examples. I don't think that's necessarily the case anymore, but certainly Thinkwise is a very, very interesting company to have a look at um, if you're looking to really modernize your core. Ari,
Yeah.
thanks
If you
again.
If you
Go
allow
ahead.
me to add a little bit on that, John, you're right. We operate on a lot of larger companies actually on production floors, and one of the largest manufacturer in the Netherlands is running 45 factories on our platform, and that's only one example. Yeah, and
Yep.
the key distinguishing factors are, I'd say, two things that maybe haven't come across a lot during this conversation. But apart from being a low-code platform, we also offer the AI upcycler, with which we can actually quickly move legacy applications to our platform. So migrate data, the data model, but also translate business logic to our platform, so that our customers can quickly get up to speed with their existing functionality in a modern technology stack. And then the second thing that we do is we ensure our customers that their technology will never become legacy again. So
Right.
whenever there's new technology arising, we will replace the components, the runtime components like the service tier and the user interface with the modern replacements that will continue to serve their low code model as they have it in our platform. Yeah.
Yep. Great. Thanks for that. And thanks for joining. It was a pleasure to have you here, folks. If this is Lowdown on Low Code, if you like the conversation today, if you find it helpful, there's one just about every week. And hit the like button, hit the share button. We're available wherever on all the major channels. Again, this is Lowdown on Low Code, brought to you by Analysis.Tech. Signing off. Have a great day.
Thanks for having me, John. Bye bye.
Hold on one sec. Hold on one sec. Oh, it's all in German. I'm afraid to hit the button. I don't know what it says. Oh, stop it. There we go.